Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari 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 Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 8. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantir arjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthiryam atma vinigraha. The meaning of this verse actually is one of the 5 verses in which Krishna describes 20 items of knowledge. So this particular verse describes 9 items of the 20 out of the 20 items. So what are the 9 items? Beginning with amanitvam, humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and self-control. So these are the 9 items of knowledge described by Krishna. Arjuna's question pertained to what is knowledge. So Krishna describes 20 items which constitute knowledge. So each one of the items, Prabhupada is explained in the purport. What is humility? Prabhupada says humility means one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge, who is a man in perfect knowledge? One who knows that he is not the body. Such a person, anything honor or dishonor pertaining to the body is useless. So, Srila Prabhupada says, one should not be hankering after this material deception. Honor or dishonor, as far as body is concerned, we should not be anxious to consider whether somebody is honoring me. Me means my body, my gross body or my subtle body. I am neither the gross body nor the subtle body. So I should not care for honor or dishonor. Next, prideless. Prabhupada explains, people are very anxious to be famous for their religion. And sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles. And then a person wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. So, one who is interested in real advancement in spiritual science, one should give up this pride in the matter of following some religion. One should become free from pride. Non-violence. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body. But actually, non-violence means not to put others into distress. Now, people in general are trapped by ignorance in this material concept of life. So they suffer perpetually material pains. So unless we elevate people to spiritual knowledge, we are practicing violence. So non-violence means one should try to distribute to the best of one's ability real knowledge to the people so that they become enlightened and they leave this material entanglement. This is non-violence. Tolerance. Tolerance means one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in spiritual advancement of knowledge, then there will be so many insults and dishonor from others. The material nature is like that. For example, Prahlad, who was a 5-year-old boy, when he was engaged in cultivation of spiritual knowledge, his father became antagonistic. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlad just tolerated. So, tolerance is important for a spiritualist. Simplicity means without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that one can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. That is simplicity. Now, acceptance of the spiritual master, that is very essential, because without the instruction of a spiritual master, one cannot make progress in spiritual science. So one should approach spiritual master with humility, offer him service, so that he'll be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. That is the way to make advancement in spiritual life. Cleanliness is important for spiritual advancement, and there are two kinds of cleanliness: external and internal. External cleanliness means taking bath, wearing clean clothes, etc. And internal cleanliness means to think of Krishna always by chanting Hare Krishna constantly. Steadiness means one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Self-control means one should not accept anything which is detrimental for the path of spiritual progress. Anything which is against our progress in spiritual life should be rejected. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 9. Indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. The meaning is renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease. So these are three more items of knowledge in this particular 9th verse of the 13th chapter. Prabhupada explains these three items. As regards renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, Prabhupada says the senses are so strong, they always are anxious to have sense gratification. Now, one should not cater to the demands of the senses, because all these are unnecessary. They are called anartha. Senses should be satisfied to keep the body fit for discharging one's duties in advancement of spiritual life. The most uncontrollable sense is the tongue. So to control the tongue is very important for spiritual life. There are two functions of the tongue: to taste and to vibrate. So one should always accept remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna or Krishna Prasadam. And one should constantly chant Hare Krishna. All the other senses also should be engaged in relationship with Krishna. Seeing the beautiful form of Krishna, hearing about Krishna, smelling nice incense or fragrance offered to Krishna. Like that, one should engage all the senses in relationship with Krishna. False ego means accepting this body as myself. When one understands that I am not the body, I am spirit soul, then there is real ego. Ego is there, but false ego is condemned. What is real ego? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman or spirit. Even in the liberated state, there is this sense of identity, I am. The real ego is, I am a very insignificant part of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme whole. I am a very, 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 very tiny part of Krishna. I am also an individual soul, but I am very tiny. I am dependent, Krishna is independent. I am tiny, Krishna is the greatest. Like that. Then one should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age and disease. This is forced upon us in this world. So in the Bhagavatam it is described that the child within the mother's womb suffers in so many ways. So birth is thoroughly distressful. We should read from the Bhagavatam. Then we should also understand at the time of death there are so many sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. In the Bhagavatam, the Garuda Purana, they are mentioned in detail. Disease and old age, everybody has got experience, practical experience. Nobody wants to be diseased, and nobody wants to become old, by which there is invalidity, but that cannot be totally avoided in material existence. So we should consider these distresses as forced upon us in material life, and if we make advancement in spiritual life, then we can get out of this suffering in material existence. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 10. Asaktir anabhishwangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. The meaning is non-attachment to children, wife, home and the rest, and even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. So just two of the items of knowledge are mentioned in this particular 10th verse. And Prabhupada explains, when it says detachment from children, wife and home, it doesn't mean that a person who's a devotee has no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection. But when they are not favorable for spiritual progress, one should be unattached to them. So Srila Prabhupada says, the best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy, because the process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. What does it involve? The process of Krishna consciousness. One has to do 4 things, Prabhupada says. First of all, one has to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The second thing one has to do is accept the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. The third thing is have some discussions on books like Gita and Bhagavatam. And the fourth thing, Prabhupada says, engage in deity worship. You may worship a deity or a picture of a deity. These 4 will make one happy. One should train one's family members in this way. And morning and evening, the family members can gather together, sit down and chant Hare Krishna. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these 4 principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced order of life. But if family life is not congenial, if it is not favorable for spiritual advancement, then one should give up family life. One must sacrifice everything to realize Krishna. Just like Arjuna did. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna did not want to kill his family members. But when he understood these family members are impediments for his Krishna realization, then he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought in the battle and killed them. Now, as regards happiness and distress of family life, one should be detached from both happiness and distress. Because in this world, nobody can be fully happy Nobody can be fully miserable. Both are concomitant factors, happiness and distress. So one simply learns to tolerate. You cannot restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress. So, detachment from the materialistic way of life makes one equipoised in both happiness and distress. When we get something undesirable, we are distressed. When we get something favorable for our sense enjoyment, sense pleasure, then we become happy. But in spiritual life, neither of these are worthwhile. They are useless. I'll take some questions now. In 2.28 purport, non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by the followers of Vedic wisdom. The question is, people believing in God, not knowing of soul, are they to be considered atheists? The answer is no. They are not atheists. Clearly it says, those who do not believe in the existence of the soul. Even if they are informed from authoritative Vedic scriptures about the living being is actually spirit soul, if they don't accept, they reject, or they say, I don't believe, such people are atheists. Ignorance is not a sign of atheism. But after hearing from the proper authoritative source, if somebody rejects, then they're atheists. Next question. Is there any effect in chanting but not hearing? There is benefit if one simply chants by vibrating the tongue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. But to derive the full benefit, maximum benefit, the ultimate benefit, one has to hear this transcendental sound of Hare Krishna. It is very, very important to hear. Spiritual life begins with hearing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. The path of devotional service begins with hearing about Krishna. So hearing is very important. But in the beginning, one may not be able to properly focus one's attention on hearing nicely. So that is not considered wrong, but we are denying ourselves the full benefit of engaging in this japa. Japa means we have to chant and we also have to hear. Both have to be done. Practice. By practicing, you can do it. Next question. In 11.13, what is meant by the sentence, unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands? Unlimited expansions of the universe means the universe consists of millions of planets. It starts off as a small seed, but it develops when Vishnu enters into that universe. Universe begins to grow and the universe produces so many living beings, creates so many living beings by giving them bodies. So, Arjuna was able to see, sitting in one place, all the different planets in different parts of the universe. So that is because Arjuna was given special vision by Krishna. Therefore Arjuna was able to see. Next question. If ahankara is false ego, then what is true ego? Ego means identity. Generally, if you ask a person, who are you? Generally, the person will describe, I am the body. This is the understanding of most people in this world. They think just about the body. They only know about the body, most people. But when you say body, actually there are two bodies, gross body and subtle body. What is gross body? This body which is in our experience made up of flesh and blood and bones and skin and tissue and fat and so many organs. This is called the gross body. This is studied by medical science. But inside there is a subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. What is that? That Sukshma Sharira consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahankara. So, false ego means to accept the body as myself. Now, it could be accepting the gross body as myself, or some people accept the mind which is within as oneself, or some people accept the intelligence as oneself. All the three are based on false ego, wrong identification. I identify myself with this gross body, or somebody else may identify themselves with their mind, or somebody may identify themselves with their intelligence. So all three are due to the false ego or false understanding of the self. So how to come to real understanding of the self? By practicing self-realization process. There are 4 yoga systems described in the Bhagavad Gita: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. By practicing any one of these yoga systems under suitable guidance of a proper spiritual master, one can make progress to really understand the self. I am within this body. I am spirit soul. I am different from my body. I am different from my mind. I am different from my intelligence. And the false ego exactly is a misidentity, a wrong conception of the self. It's like somebody thinks, I am very intelligent person. So that thinking I am very intelligent is a false ego. Or somebody thinks I am very, very weak person. That is also a false ego. We are neither weak nor we are strong, neither we are white nor we are black, neither we are Indian nor we are American. We are all spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. So this understanding of myself as spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna is called real ego. So real ego is the proper understanding of the self. And that real ego is explained in the Bhagavad Gita in all the scriptures. Now, realizing that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, that takes some time, some spiritual practice. Gradually we begin to understand as we keep on chanting Hare Krishna and performing other devotional activities. Next question. In 11.14, would it be right to say that Arjuna's relationship turned from that of spontaneous friendship of the Lord to one of wonder, which is a secondary rasa? No, the primary rasa always is there. Arjuna is always friend of Krishna, or Krishna is always friend of Arjuna. Krishna reciprocates. But in different instances, there will be a mixing of the secondary rasa. There will be mixing of the secondary rasa. Just like in this case, when Arjuna saw the universal form, he was wonderstruck. So that being wonderstruck is on the foundation of this relationship of friend. Unless one is situated in one of the primary rasas, one cannot experience any secondary rasa. So, Arjuna is always situated in the primary rasa of spontaneous friendship, but he does experience in different situations, different circumstances, different spiritual events, he experiences different types of other rasas, 7 secondary rasas. Or it could just be the primary rasa also. In today's verse, translation says, all these I declare to be knowledge. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, this is the real process of knowledge. Is there a difference between knowledge and process of knowledge? Yes, there is a difference. Now, if you carefully study, in the translation to the 3rd verse of this 13th chapter, Krishna says, what is knowledge? In the 3rd verse translation, Krishna says, to understand the body and its owner is called knowledge. Kshetra kshetragnayor jnanam etad jnanam matam mama. So what is kshetra? If you know what is kshetra, kshetra means the field of activity, this body. And you know the owner of the body. Now owner, there are 2 owners. The individual soul and the super soul. So 2 owners, to know the body, the individual soul and the super soul, this is called knowledge. Then what about the process of knowledge? How one can actually situate oneself in this proper understanding of the field of activity, the individual soul and the super soul. How to situate oneself in this knowledge is by practicing the process of knowledge. Just like humility is one of the items of knowledge. Now you have to practice humility. You have to practice humility. Or tolerance is an item of knowledge. You have to practice tolerance. By practicing these different qualities or virtues, one actually becomes free from all misconceptions. One becomes free from bewilderment due to sense gratification. One becomes situated in proper understanding of reality. One comes out of illusion. So that's why these 20 items of knowledge are called the real process of knowledge. Of course, Prabhupada says, you don't have to separately cultivate each item of knowledge. You can do it, but you don't have to. What is the way? The way is simply to engage in devotional service. If somebody engages properly in devotional service, one automatically develops all good qualities, all favorable qualities. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasate suraha. One develops all good qualities simply by practicing devotional service. So it is important to practice devotional service or bhakti yoga to develop all good qualities. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.